Hey, all you addicts out there, welcome to another Addicted podcast. We are sitting here in the studio with Jordan and Josh, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the touchiest of all touchy subjects. We're going to be talking a little river etiquette today as people are venturing out to the smaller tributaries. Got some good rain, got some great fishing. People are whacking and stacking, but before we get a little too ahead of ourselves, I want to give a big shout out to our partners here at Nickwax for sponsoring the podcast, and we do appreciate it. For those of you guys that want to make sure that your Gore-Tex is all tuned up for this rainy season, get some Nickwax and
they will keep you dry.
Keep it reconditioned and keep you dry because you're going to need it.
This will be the third week in a row where I say, man, I need to go home and wash all my rain gear.
Haven't done it yet, huh?
Nope, haven't
Last
done
week
it.
didn't teach you a lesson?
Too much fishing, yeah. So, but yeah, man, the touchiest subject of all, you said it well. It's one, I think this is a conversation that goes on and on and on and on forever.
Oh, man.
We could do a week's worth of these podcasts about river etiquette. But, where do you really start with it all?
Man, I think the biggest place to start, and we kind of talked about this, with some of the buddies here before we started recording the podcast here, is a lot of it's just like perception. You know what I mean? A lot of it's just, these guys that, somebody thinks that they're doing something right, but then the other person is think that they're like jilting them or slighting them in some way. And, a lot of it, a lot of these stories and these blow-ups that you see online and stuff like that, because someone did somebody wrong, is a lot of times it just seems to be
that guy's having a hard time catching fish
or perspective. Yeah, or that too. Well, there's always
a misunderstanding on the river.
Yeah,
misunderstanding. Yeah, that's the word for sure.
Somebody thinks they have the right to fish something before somebody else, or vice versa, whatever.
Yeah,
but
we all got to admit, though, the days when you're out there and everybody's friendly, it makes it so much better. And it takes one guy copping an attitude to ruin your day sometimes.
Yeah.
But, if anybody, I think hopefully what we come to a conclusion of over the evening, in between this and our live feed here in about an hour, is that you should just be happy and have good mentality being out there no matter what.
Well, I mean, shoot, after all, the state could take away fishing right away.
Right. Yeah, just like we know how sensitive.
Be thankful you're fishing, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But nobody ever's mad when you're all catching fish, of course.
Right.
We all know those days when you're going down the river and everybody's got a eating grin on their face and or on their cell phone. That's how you can tell. They're on their phone or they're on the bank smiling. They're nailing them. But, I think, guess the way we could really just boil right down to it, like, starting from the boat ramp on down. One thing that I'll say straight off the bat here, and it's prevalent for, I'd say, like, mostly in the Northwest, but I say there's an invisible barrier about a half mile above and about a half mile below any single hatchery in the state of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, or California, where it's no holds barred. Don't go there. There are no rules. Do not go there.
Don't go there and expect etiquette.
Don't go there and expect etiquette, or expect everybody to fish a certain way.
Expect a different type of etiquette.
Exactly.
Because there's some things there, like where the guys, you're talking like the cork lines and the hatchery intakes and the creek with a certain color in its name.
Right.
Maybe blue. Just, there's different ways. There's different ways of it. And that brings up, what I was going to say is like probably what I wanted to bring up as my first rule, like when in Rome, do as the Romans. And, when you look at these hatchery areas, you have a lot of people, or not necessarily hatchery areas, but these big concentration holes. You have a lot of people doing, fishing the same way, fishing certain ways. And there is the original rule of he who is there first, always, they own the spot. They get to do what they want to do first. But at the same time, there is that, like I said, when in Rome, do as Romans. So you don't want to be like showing up to where all the guys are drifting and decide to throw out a plunking rod. Yeah. You don't want to be the guy that's trying to throw a bobber right on the plunking spot where everyone's plunking. So there's a little bit of a, if you're new to an area, if you're kind of checking something out and you want to kind of learn an area, like let's say you move to the area, it's by your house, you want to check something out, you need to go down there and kind of watch what they're doing. Just so you don't become that guy.
Yeah. Well, and I always say what I mean by that statement mostly is like, don't go to those areas and then be upset if somebody does something around you, or like give in to like getting into an argument or a fight or something like that for going in an area and getting mad at somebody crossed up your line or tangled with you on the reel in, or in some way, shape, or form affected your fishing. Because if you don't want those things to happen, if you don't want to be put forth with those things in those situations happening to you, then just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
There usually is somewhere else you can go on the river.
You better, if you show up to those crowded areas, you better have a reasonable amount of patience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You got to work together.
And you go to make friends.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't go there to be by yourself and kind of, be grumpy. If you just got in an argument with the old lady and you grab your dog and head out, you don't go to the hatchery spot. You know what I mean? Or old man, whatever you're into out there. But Josh, say you're gonna go bang fishing.
I know.
When does somebody cross your line? I know you.
What's your most ridiculous slighted story?
Or whatever.
Ridiculous slighted story. I don't personally get into those situations because I'm not that guy that goes down to the cork line or the hatchery hole. I stay away from
anywhere. No one's jilted you in the Northwest ever.
No, not really that bad, but I think you put yourself in those situations too, to be jilted by somebody else because you're fishing around a bunch of people, and I don't put myself in
I guess what you think is as someone jilting you versus somebody else. It could be two different things.
I don't even know what jilting means.
Like jilting. Like
it's the word we just made.
Jilted.
I'm gonna just do that all night.
Irritated.
Start making stuff up.
No, it's like even so last weekend, I think it was last weekend. I don't know now. But I was fishing, bobber fishing, and I was kind of holding up the hole, I guess. We were just fishing one spot. A drift boat came through, and the dude, you could tell the dude was pissed, but I was like, I gave him the thumbs up, go ahead, because he was running plugs. Just run plugs through the hole, dude. I don't care.
May help you.
Why was he pissed?
I think he was pissed because he came around the corner and
saw you.
And we were in the hole.
Oh,
I mean, he wasn't mad at me.
You were there first.
Yeah, but I gave him the thumbs up to go ahead, and he did.
That was awfully nice of you.
Yeah, because I don't care. I'd like to see somebody's plug rod fold. So that's where Jordan's point of just having a good attitude about it. You're out there fishing.
Or some guys on the bank wouldn't.
I would rather see somebody else catch a fish, not more than I'd see myself catch a fish.
Of course.
Wouldn't make me happier, but it was a slow day, and I wanted the dude to run plugs through the hole.
Might have literally helped you at some point.
Or you're not one of those guys that thinks if the drift boat or the raft goes over the hole, it spooks every fish off. You might as well just go home and just put the rod in the rack.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I think that's fishing through is a big thing, especially, on some of the more crowded boat rivers we've been on over the last few weeks. There's people, you have 6 boats out there that are solid side drifting or bobber dogging, and then there's the one dude that's going to go up and drop anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't hate him for dropping anchor. It's inconvenient, but do not get mad if I fish to your anchor line and to the very end of your lines.
Yeah.
You are in your spot. That's where you're gonna fish. But if I drift by and I catch one on top of your with my kicker almost hitting your anchor line, sorry, you can't cast up there. You're not fishing there. You're fishing right there. So you've given up. But so those people, and they all had good attitudes. Never had anything bad happen. And that was such a great thing to see as far as etiquette, because they knew that's what they were doing. They were fully compliant. They were fully aware of how they were fishing, and they were cool with people fishing around them.
Yeah.
And I think more people out there on some coastal rivers and stuff where people get really tight wads, where they need more people like you that are like, no, please go, fish through it really quick. You might pick one up, but you know what? You might move them around to where we catch 3 more once you're gone.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely, that's a big one for me too.
But there's also a big piece to that, when that drift boat came through the hole, you guys also communicated. And
exactly.
you see a lot of these situations come up where someone thinks they have the right to a hole or they own a hole. Generally, it's he who's there is first, but there are times where the sleds have to cross paths with the drift boats, and the drift boats have to cross paths the bay. I mean, there are those times, and like you said, what you did, just like you said, having that little bit of communication, waving a guy through, giving him a thumbs up, pointing at the water, something like that to at least kind of get you and that other person on the same page when you do come across each other's paths. I mean, that helps out immensely. And actually that communication probably can help resolve situations more than anything else. And that's probably the least thing that happens sometimes though too.
Even just coming down on somebody that is fishing a hole and you ask them hey, do you mind if I fish here? Or do you mind if I fish above you? Or whatever. Just communicating with people is the most important part.
I would rather have them say no than throw a fit
No?
that I did.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right. And then
Like, no, this guy's
you
never
be-
caught one. I really want him
Yeah.
to get a couple more cats. Great, dude. High five on your way
Great,
by.
I don't
And,
care.
great,
You
and
cast
you're a
anyways.
confident enough fisherman. You're just gonna go right to the next spot and fish anyways. You know, it's funny because like I find it really funny, like when you see a bank angler, and like we're talking some small coastal, stream stuff, and you row right next to them with the raft, and they
That's
look at
always
you
just
like, "What the hell are you
what
doing?"
you doing?
Or when the drift boat's like anchored on the side, and you want to just like brush their oar, and sometimes you get the funniest looks. Like guys are like,
You got the
"What
whole river, don't you? And I'm like,
Well, and I'm
I
like,
was
hey,
trying to be nice.
I'm trying to make it, and I just learned over the years, like you just, as I'm going next to somebody, I'm
Trying
like,
to stay off your water, bud.
I'm like, hey, I'm just doing what I can to stay off your water. Don't mind me, and I, make a little joke of it, and just go right next to them. And like half the people, they know what you're doing, but there's a percentage of people
I
out there
think you're
that
kind
don't.
of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you might.
Well,
as well
I think once you
might as
tell
well
them that, but
communicate.
once you communicate that,
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's trying to be cool and
Yeah.
not just be a dope, not run into me. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But communication is that's a huge.
The only people I've
huge
ever
part
had
of
to do that, the most, I've had boats do it, but we're fly fishermen.
it.
Like,
They're the worst.
I was trying not to float over your water.
Well,
Yeah, so I
everything's
came,
their
like,
water.
right
Don't
next
you
to
know
you,
that if
you
they
know,
hold the
like,
fly rod, that
ooh.
everything is their water?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that brings
they're
up a
not
good
allowed-
point.
Oh god,
Bank,
here we go.
bank versus boat. We talk about this one a lot. And after fishing a river that you and I fished for, a couple of weeks here recently, and see, there's a lot of bank fishermen
Mhm.
in a giant river, but a lot of the times they end up being right in the best part of the hole, and they're just camped out on it. And again, never had any bad situations happen. Never gotten any kind of argument with anybody or anything. But I could see the tension at times where if the wrong people were on the bank and the wrong people were in the boat, you'd have some big blow-ups. Well, these guys that are plunking or casting into this one pocket, and you come into your boat and you're holding on with your kicker motor or on your electric, and you're fishing the spot right there in front of them, and having them say like, "Hey, you don't have the whole river to go fish." And I think this one
Oh,
going
I
back and
hate
forth for a
listening to
long
that.
time because it's like dude, you are pinned up on. You're
I mean-
fishing this one rock all day. I'm fishing through. That's your right as a boat guy to fish the whole river. You don't have to blow up the dude's spot. But then I know, like, if we talk about this on the live feed and we hear the comments, or you guys are commenting here, like, there'd be a lot of people be like, no, you're wrong. It's just
That
like,
depends on if you're on the bay, because like
yeah.
fishing through is one thing. Like there's going to be situations where you either have to fish or travel through safely. Like you're just going to have those interactions. But man, listening to a bank angler, well, you have a boat, you have the whole river to fish, and it's like, well, you got feet, you can go fish.
exactly.
That's like telling a bank angler to fish. I don't really buy too much. That doesn't go too far with me. But if that bank angler's there first, and you're moving that boat through that area, and it makes it a little more tougher on you.
Mhm.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't like drop. I mean, would you? I mean,
Right.
case in point, you got some bank anglers right there. Would you go and just throw your anchor 5 feet off the bank right in front of them?
No.
Probably not. So you got to think like there is a line there, like what you probably should do and could do.
But I always feel bad because, like, in these certain cases, these guys are plunking with like triple
Mhm.
setups. I literally went like 20 feet past their rod and dropped in and started hooking fish. But they're waiting for the fish to come up. I'm picking them off before they get there. And like, I can see where the conflict could be. But I'm like, well, don't sit here in the best part of the hole then and fish a stationary method.
You're
is what
picking
I'm
off
thinking,
fish 100 feet below them. If
But
you're
what's
going to
the
pick them off a half mile below them
Exactly.
too. So what's the difference?
Right. There is a little bit of that. I mean, you always have to leave the room below the person to effectively fish how they're fishing, right? I mean, if you have a 200-yard bobber run, you don't, for the most part, unless it's like one of those kind of known to be crowd. Like, let's say you're up hiking the mountain somewhere, and there's a 200-yard run, and you don't generally shoulder up to somebody right there in that spot. But if you're at a hatchery cork line and you're like the second guy there in the morning, you might. You know what I mean? So when the whole wind and
It's
roam
common
thing.
sense for sure. I think we can all agree.
That is
on
100% what etiquette is. It's just common sense. Common sense, communication. And
Communication more than anything
We're
else.
losing that in this world.
Yeah.
it's actually not been as bad as I remember. Like people are pretty.
People are
courteous
not
on
as
the
aggressive
river.
anymore, and I'm
Well, you can
not
thank
going to
social
put too
media
much
for
credit.
that.
I was going to put
Yeah, because then they get on social media and badmouth you.
Well, because then I mean, if you're a boat or you're a guide and you like jilt somebody,
Ooh,
you're
here
gonna
it
hear
comes.
about it.
Coming
Like,
back.
you're gonna hear
I'm
about
gonna
it.
drop that first in the live.
You're gonna hear about it.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of like kind of a self-regulation out there now about people doing dick moves. I mean, you can't. I don't know. You get well known real quick if you're that guy or that guide.
TMZ era, as I was once told. Anybody can stick a camera in your face.
Or call you out on social media, which is what happens.
Yeah.
That is too. But what about like talking about like safe passage stuff? I mean, you probably encounter that a lot where like there's sometimes if you're on the bank and a boat goes through the hole and you think, oh damn, they went right over my fish or right over my water, but sometimes those runs above, like those rapids and those runs that you got to move through, whether you're sledding or not, you have to make those moves. A couple days ago, or sleds and drift boats. A couple of days ago, before they brought the water up, I was looking up at that spot where you got spooled today, and there was a boat anchored there, and I wanted to go up past him, and literally instead of me just roaring past him, he was anchored, and the water was like just inches deep. I wanted to pass him, but I'd have to take a little bit of a shot to get up over, and I actually had to idle up to him, and the guy knew exactly what I was doing. In fact, as I got closer to him, he's like, "No, I know, just blow through." And so I backed off him, took my running start, because sleds have to take running starts to stop and slow down. At least mine does. And I blew right by him, but I only ran maybe 2 feet away from him because he was anchored right in the slot. He kind of knew it. But I wanted to make sure that he knew that, and he did. But if that was a new angler, or if that was somebody who maybe was new to fishing the river, he might look at me idling up down below and just be like, what the hell is this guy doing? Well, if I didn't communicate that and I just shot by him, I'd probably get ripped to shreds that night or get a talking to at the ramp. You know what I mean? So like I said, that communication aspect is just so huge, especially in situations where like people have to make certain moves.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it has grown a little bit with time over the last, 10, 15 years maybe, where people are starting to understand etiquette a lot more if you do fish. But I think like this podcast and the live feed tonight will be most beneficial for the new angler, because I hear it so many times like, oh yeah, this guy over here on this river, I don't like him. He floated right up and just started fishing right in the same hole we were and floated right over. I'm like, and I'm thinking of the spot that they were fishing. I know the situation. I know that I've been there 100 times, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'll even tell them, I'm like, I know that guy. He's a really cool dude. He probably was just making a necessary move, and you didn't understand. Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing with anybody who doesn't have good river etiquette nowadays. They're either one, just jerks, or two, they're people that just don't quite understand why something is happening in front of them the way it is. So, take everything with a grain of salt. I think it's like the easiest way to go. You're still fishing, so what's there to be mad about?
Still fishing.
Yeah. I remember 3 years ago, summertime flows, I came up this braid, and it's like the only braid that I can move. And there was a buddy of mine, and he was anchored in his drift boat, but he was around a blind corner. And I came up the river, and man, when I came around the corner, it was like, oh, I'm in that situation where I cannot stop, but I have to safely go right next to him. And I kind of shot by him. He gave me the look like, what are you doing? And I got up above him, and he texted me. He goes, that was close, dude. And I'm like, I know, but what was I had no other option. And I think he's just, and then I talked to him on the phone, and I was like, yeah, dude, when you gotta realize like where you're at, where boats come around that corner, they're not going to see you. And you have to reasonably expect like the next boat that's coming up river is going to do the same thing. And the next boat behind him is going to do the same thing. And the next boat behind him is going to do the same thing. So there is like a certain level of like you said, like education and kind of being more familiar with your areas. Maybe if you're on the river and it's a busy traffic day, you might want to kind of pay attention to where those boats are running, seeing stuff like that. There was another interaction between I'll just say a non-local guide that was drifting said river, and he was in a very bad spot, and a very local known guide went by him in the kind of the same situation, like came around the corner, had to commit, no stopping, or else he would ground out. And that the other non-local guy went online and just tried to rip him, and he got pound it into the sand because his perception was different, but he didn't know, which was, I thought, kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you gotta realize what people are doing. You gotta realize you might want to have a little familiarity. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Other than that, I can't really say too much more about that, other than when the water's low, be ready for it.
So to kind of close it all up, what's bank to bank? So now we're straying all away from bank versus boat. Bank versus bank. What is a reasonable on a mid-sized tributary? What's a reasonable distance to walk up to the river and start below somebody?
Depends on the hole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like a real tight fishing spot, you might be shoulder to shoulder.
Like
Like,
I
I mean,
said-
look at those guys that are crawling down the cliffs. I mean, they ain't going anywhere else except for right next to them. But the other thing is too, is also if you have a run and you're fishing below a guy like 50 yards and you hook a fish and then he gets mad and then he moves down towards you and then you go above him 50 yards and then you hook another fish and then he starts screaming at you because you hooked fish above him, right, Marlon? And you go above him 50 yards and you hook a bunch of fish above him and then he gets mad at you for that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like there's, got to play nice, I guess. Yeah. So that guy was a little out of bounds. And
Right.
like I said, I mean, depending on the hole, you're going to want to be, sometimes you're shoulder to shoulder, sometimes you're not. And like I said, if you're the second one to the hole, you might want to ask, that never heard, like, hey, mind if I fish by you? I just hiked 2 miles.
You
kind of
said it
thing.
at the very beginning. Just communication.
Yeah.
All you got to do, especially in a spot like a hike-in spot that can hold more than one. You go down, you walk up to the guy, you say, hey, how's it going? You getting them? Do you mind if I step in the tail out? That guy was there first, fully has the right to be like, no, I kind of started up here in the crap
working our
water.
way
I
down.
really want to hit that tail out first. You can start right here if you want. Crisis averted 10
Yeah.
times out of 10. You
Rather
know,
than just rolling up to the hole, plopping one in, and
going to your
hoping
favorite
he's not
spot,
pissed.
going to your favorite leaning tree, putting your backpack down and casting, where we all know it's a good spot.
Yeah.
There's a fine line, but it's just the open-ended communication will save.
And
everybody.
that open-ended communication gets you out of like all these like not cardinal rules, but like just all these like, things that there's no set rule. Like, what I mean? They're really like, when you ask that question, like
every
how
river's
close,
different. I mean,
yeah, every spot,
size of the river, size of the run, it's all different. So
how many people are there that day
Yeah.
versus other days? I mean, we're by no means experts on this, and we don't have like, like I said, the rules, like we don't have the rule book, the 10 commandments of river etiquette. Because I think it changes a little bit, depending on all
Yeah.
those situations, but you definitely don't, like I said, we don't know it all, but I guess if you communicate, it helps a lot.
Yeah, no, and let that be said, everybody listening here, we're not the rule makers out here. We're not the gods of river etiquette, but just so you all know, it's just this is some of our experience. This is our opinion on stuff, and for people who fish a lot, this is what we think is
Yeah.
This is what we think is right and is proper and is important when you get out there on the water and are around other fishermen. So,
as Jordan put it, we're not the experts. We're just having a conversation about etiquette to kind of, get the conversation started, get people to start making the right moves and communicate on the river. And hopefully you don't have to run into any of the issues.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if by chance I go by you and someone doesn't communicate with you, like, or they don't wave at you, it's not because or Jordan
Unless it's
or
Cameron.
Marlon's being an a-hole.
Yeah.
It's probably because we didn't see you. That's another perception that kind of gets thrown around there a little bit. It's like, dude, it was raining really hard. I didn't see you wave. Sorry,
I
bud.
just have the stones in my eyes.
More
More bug in my eye.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Addicted podcast. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsor, Nick Wax. You guys need to get yourself dry before the rain starts. Get on it. And thank you, boys, for having a great conversation here. All right, we'll see you guys later.